I was working in a lab and this British scientist goes, "Oh, I hate this donkey work." Never heard that before. Googled it later. It's a British expression, donkey work, tedious, repetitive work.
It's
Lab
memorable.
donkey. Don't make a joke at a pub because you might get that as your name.
Every lab has donkey work. Lab Donkey was built to automate it. Welcome to Automation in the Wild.
Welcome back to Helical Brew, our Automation in the Wild series, exploring what actually happens once automation hits real labs. Today, we have a founding duo, Petia Hak and Safwan Hak, co-founders of Lab Donkey, a company focused on lab automation, execution, scheduling, and robotics. Specifically, the problems that are too big, too complex, and too challenging for anyone else to tackle. Welcome, Saf and Petia. Thank you for joining us.
Hi. Thank you for having us.
Well, we're glad to have you with us. So Safwan brings over 2 decades of enterprise software architecture experience, including time as solutions and technical architect at Automata, where he led platform transformation, built event-driven workflow tools, and optimized robotic systems for real production environments. Petia brings operational and project leadership experience across tech, finance, and ed tech, and a founder's eye for the gaps that technical people often miss. Today, they're applying software discipline to one of laboratory automation's most persistent, unresolved problems, making complex systems actually execute reliably in the real world. And today's episode is titled Complex by Design, How Lab Donkey Tackles the Automation Problems Nobody Else Will. So let's get into it. All right, Saf and Petia, Lab Donkey's whole positioning is around complexity that others won't touch. What was the first moment where you both looked at lab automation and said, this is a software problem, not just a hardware problem?
That's a very interesting question. So we actually fell into lab automation, Petia and I. A few years ago, Petia and I had sold our last company. Petia is the founder. I'm the CTO. I'm her side thing. She uses me and throws me away as needed, Nothing.
I was going to say how wonderful it is to have like a woman founder and a founding duo, right? It's always like, there's a partner behind the founder that helped propel them to start the company, make it successful, but you don't actually ever hear about them. So it's nice that you guys are out there as a founding duo.
He's my rock.
Oh, stop it.
Oh.
You don't have to be nice on camera.
I'm only nice on camera, don't worry.
That's true.
I'm going to warn the audience that I'm pretty jaded, so this like love duo is going to get me.
We have been doing this for a while together. So yeah, so a few years ago, we got into lab automation, but by mistake, really. Well, mistake. More of, we sold our last company and we had no idea what to do. And what's funny is that in software, when you're working on something for many years, you don't know what else is happening. Right? You're like, there's only the technology you use. Nothing else exists while you're working on your project. And we didn't know what to do. So we said, well, instead of jumping into something else, well, we had no idea what else to do. So we said, let's do some consulting and did a few different projects. And one of the projects we fell into was lab automation. That's, you mentioned Automata. I went in there and I saw them with robots. I've never done robots, guys. Neither Petia nor I have never done any type of machinery,
Any hardware, anything.
Any hardware. The most complex
software.
Yeah. The most complex things we've ever used is kitchen appliance, basically. That's the extent of our
Sure,
complex.
liquid handler, blender.
Coffee machine.
So basically got into lab automation by consulting for Automata. I thought this is so odd. Like this stuff should be perfect by now, right? I've seen automation in the 80s and everything was like perfect, right? I'm looking here and they're still trying to figure out how to do the basics. And it's really the software, right? The robots exist, the machines exist, Hamilton, all those different instruments are pretty damn good, but it's putting it together is where it lacked that cohesiveness. So I thought that's cool. And Petia and I went to SLAS in 2024 in Boston, right? This was our first SLAS.
I remember.
You remember?
Yeah, that's where I met you as well.
So 2024, we had just gone in there incognito. We're like, let's go see what's happening. Nobody knows we exist. We don't.
Incognito.
Didn't stay that way long, did you?
No. I think the problem is we don't know how to keep our mouths shut.
Yeah.
We went there and we're like, we sat there, we looked at all the big guys, right? All the ones that you'd expect. And we were surprised by the software. I always say this. they're 15, 20-year-old softwares, right? They've had a software for a while, and it was built for different times, really.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's really
Solving different problems.
Absolutely.
exactly. And so we thought it's interesting and it's very exciting. It's really the most fun I had in a while because Petia was doing other projects. I was doing the automation project, and I would be working nights and weekends and doing all of that, like nonstop working 7 days a week. So she saw the excitement. She's like, "Clara, let's
He
go."
would come home and he would be like a kid in a candy store. You have no idea how cool these things are. And we get to play with robots. Yeah.
You know,
Let's do it. Let's start a company.
Yeah.
the very
And this
first
is how
time
you found companies when you come home and your partner's excited.
Yeah. But then he also got to work with projects that really matter. And he was very excited about the impact that software could possibly make. So
Yeah.
I'll let you
So just to
talk more because-
reiterate, SLAS, you realize that the hardware is good, but there might be a software problem here.
Yeah, the software, I mean, they're good. They're just not made for what's needed now. And in fact,
And that's a good pivot, right? Because you're coming in as an outsider looking at something that everyone else has been sort of working with this whole time.
exactly. It's we've worked in many different industries. We've worked in finance and education, healthcare, in many different industries. So we're complete outsiders. We have no idea how this whole thing works. And when we looked at the software, it's like, oh, we could do better. But really, the thing that I think, I'm not sure if it was me or Petia who said this, like, these guys are already established. You know, everybody knows their name. Can we really get in there? And then we put on our...
really a me thing. I am the pessimist pulling everybody back down to earth.
Sure, we can break into this.
That's not
a
true, by the
grounded
way.
reality, though. Those
It's
guys
not-
have been
it-
around for
it's not
decades.
true,
Good
Yeah,
question to ask.
It's not true.
No, Petia is actually quite the optimist. I'm usually the one who's like, but look at all the other things we have to deal with. No, she's the optimist. But here's what we thought is that if we were to get into this, can we really survive against companies that have been established for a long time? And because their software it's not outdated, it just carries a lot of baggage. We thought, well, what do we need to do is if we start from scratch, the only real competition we have is somebody else starting from scratch. So either them pivoting and saying, let's drop what we have and start from scratch, or let's have another competition come in and somebody new and do it. We thought, this is a great opportunity for us because, excuse my language, but I said, do they have the balls to drop what they have and start fresh? And that is very hard. If I was running any of these companies and I have an established software, I wouldn't start from scratch. It's very difficult to do that. So we basically bet on that. We bet that they're comfortable. They're not going to restart. They're not going to do a fresh app. So this is an opportunity for us. And that's the beginning of it, really.
I feel like you even went one layer deeper and said, I mean, could they restart, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, how much money is it going to take? I'm sure that idea has been kicked around the table by more than one. It's to say, hey, let's start fresh. There's a whole new, every time Microsoft comes out with a new framework, even for the Windows platform or whatever platform it's running on, you're like, well, that's a total rewrite for us. Can we do it?
Mentioned in meetings, but quickly suppressed.
Right. Now skip next. What features can we add?
For a
That
good
touches on a
reason.
critical problem, right, that you see is that some of these automation companies present these like really titillating demos, but when you put it in a real lab and in reality, sometimes it just breaks, right?
Exactly. Demos are perfect environments set to run the right way. No interruptions, no interactions with the outside world. So, yeah.
Yeah, if it's a closed system, nobody touches anything, no humans involved, automation is easy, right? It's going to work every time. But
Which is this
yeah.
demo environment, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The demo environment is always perfect. I guess from a technology perspective, I think we're software developers, and the best way to do good software is not to build what should work, but what is going to break, right? The unexpected. And so when we focus on building software, like what could go wrong, right? Is a machine, if somebody turns off the machine mid-run, or if somebody walks in, breaks the robot's arm, or if all of a sudden the connection to limbs is down, what do? Right? These are the things that we develop for, and this is where we spend most of our effort. It's not the happy path. The happy path is easy, right? It's supposed to do A to B to C to D. But where it goes wrong is when somebody goes and does something unexpected.
Well, let's do a little bit of a deeper dive in where we can kind of bridge demo and reality and find out what what goes wrong between the two.
Because
Uh,
to say so far, you have come in, identified that it's not a hardware problem, it's a software problem,
yeah,
right? So now you're in this next step.
and of course, making it work in the real world, in the real lab, or wherever it's being deployed, is always the true test. And so, let's ask that question: why is automation success so often oversimplified in how it gets sold and described? How are we setting ourselves up by the time we get into the reality of deployment?
Well, I think for me, the biggest reason why automation fails is because it's not really a programming problem. It's a problem solving problem. You can have the smartest programmer in the room who's built really very sophisticated software. Take him out of that room, put him in automation, and he won't do as well. Because now there's so many external factors that he's not used to. I mean, I've heard programmers say, the instrument doesn't work. Tell the client to buy a new one, right?
Oh my
Yep.
gosh, you've hit upon the thing that bothers me the most is that, our field isn't something like you go to school for. So it's like scientists learning automation tools and then becoming experts in their field, right? And so often, I'm an automation engineer, I'm programming, I'm also a biochemist, I understand the science, right? So there's a lot of different layers to success. So when they're like, oh yeah, we'll just build a software team and they'll start programming your programs for you, that disconnect is immediate. There's no
Yeah.
way that they're coming from their room into my lab and figuring it out day one. There's just they don't have the context.
No.
Actually, them coming out of their room and coming into your lab is the first step.
Yes,
100%.
that desire to come see the lab
Yes.
environment, the real environment is critical. You're right.
Yeah, because then they'd have to go out in daylight and see people. I'm being a little bit mean.
I'm blind by the real world. What do I do?
And my people, can I be mean against my own people? I guess it's allowed.
I mean, definitely, you can. I do know that a lot of the IT teams and bioinformatics teams I've worked with in the past will leave their desk or cubicle to come to the lab just to get a change of environment.
To get out of that server room.
I'm like, great, nice to see you. Please glove up and put on a lab coat.
I think that's really where you get a good product, right? When they come and basically we say live in the lab. Petia, I, Max, and Alex, we're the core team. We have a lot of support outside, but we're the core team of LabDonkey. And the four of us have managed to do so much on our own because we're basically in the lab, we're watching what the scientists are doing, and that's where ideas come in, right? That's when we watch something. LabDonkey Steps, for example, is one that was LabDonkey Shortcuts and Steps. Both were built because we saw somebody in the lab do something like, wait a minute, we can help with that.
Right. It's an idea generator, right? I mean, it's an inspiration, seeing people actually working. Yeah.
Seeing how scientists work is very important because you don't want to go and tell them, no, you should do it that way because it's better, because it fits our software. And I am a person that likes to sit in the background and just watch stuff as well. He's a really good problem solver. And he would see sometimes a problem when the scientists don't see it because they've done it
They're in it
that way. But being in the lab is, for us, the most important thing. And we've been really lucky to be able to
had good access
and observe.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, so speaking of that observation, out of all those observations, what breaks first when systems actually scale in the real lab environment? Because I'm sure you've seen some things go online that you weren't part of, and some that now that you are part of. But what's maybe in general, what breaks first?
Most things that break have nothing to do with the software itself. It's the error handling, the recovery. It's the downed internet or the human, right? We were talking about that the other day. I don't know if you guys know about the V-spin, obviously, with the loader, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it has that big speedy grip, right? And then and we work with a company who does safety for us. And they're very concerned about somebody losing an arm in the V-spin. So of course the first thing we do is we slow it down. But when we talk about it, we're like, somebody said to me, it's like, I think it was our Alex said to me, but why would somebody go put their hand right in the loader when it's about to
Great question.
to do? And And that's because humans do these odd things. All of a sudden, they're going to put a plate, and all of a sudden realize, oh, it's a wrong plate. And they'll grab it as it's moving, right? And that's the kind of things, the unexpected, because we drop the plate, we expect something to happen. And then a human comes by and says, you know what? I'm just going to change things around. And then you have a whole other mess that happens. So I think the biggest thing that challenges a software is the human. Yes, instruments, error recovery, all of that. You want the Hamilton that if it fails to pick up a tip, you get a proper error, you got to recover from it. Sometimes we're constrained by the hardware and we have to deal with it in one way or another. But for me, it's the human that tends to make a mess out of things. They'll leave, for example, they'll leave an instrument, they'll want to use an instrument manually and forgot to put it back in a state that's automation friendly, right? So we created a feature just for that. So it's these kind of things that we have to think about. All the things that have nothing to do with the core functionality, really.
Yeah, and so many of these things are an amalgam of multiple independently operatable devices, which if your mindset is around, oh, I just walk up to this device and I just press this button, I do that. Meanwhile, the whole automation platform that you built around has gone completely sideways because it has no idea how to deal with the state that you've given it, right? I mean, I think it's less often you see this in traditional manufacturing automation because the PLC is Grand Central Station for so much of
It's
an
also
automation
abstracted
line.
out, right? The liquid
It's
handler,
abstracted out.
the
That's true.
system, it's right in front of you. And
Yeah.
you're a scientist that doesn't quite trust it, so you're right there. So it's easy to be like, oh no, I'm going to reach in and do this, right? That's why some people have light curtains, some people have sensors.
Very true.
And I think it's important that you state in LabDonkey, using your software, you're trying to kind of think ahead and put some things in place that can prevent some of that. Because you're right, you have to train the human to trust the robot and, stay out of its way.
Exactly.
So go ahead, Sam.
And we're building these open benches. So there's no containment, there's no closed doors, and they can walk up to these instruments now. And this is what some of the clients want. It depends on the project, but some are closed, some are open. And so the more open they are, the more risk we have of it going wrong.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's like these labs, they can buy all the automation they want, but operating it is a whole different story, right? Because they have to have a different mindset. They have to think about these considerations that you brought up.
Exactly. And so that's why we've built features like LabDonkey shortcuts and LabDonkey steps so that they never have to use the individual software anymore. They go through LabDonkey and that reduces the error rates because they can't leave a machine in a state that's not automation friendly.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't want to make it easy for them to leave the room in that state if for whatever reason, they came in, did what they needed to do, and then all these steps to bring it back online. And it's easy to forget. Saf, you came from IBM, Automata, enterprise architecture. What disciplines from that world does life science still need to adopt?
Because we know we have a lot that we need to adopt. So many industries are far ahead of us.
I have been doing enterprise applications for a while. In the 90s, I was at IBM in a room of fellows. I was in there and they're talking about the cloud and how it's going to change the world and all this. I mean, it existed, but it wasn't popular, right? And that's really the first time I thought of enterprise application. I mean, this was, I think, the late 90s. And we were building project management software for IBM so that they could run all their projects from one central repository. So, building enterprise applications back then. And then my whole life has been about building enterprise solutions. It's fun. It's different. Software development has changed a lot. And if there are any software developers out there, especially product managers, they're going to be very angry with me right now because I don't like the way software has gone over the past.
Make them angry. It leads to more views.
Please.
No, you know what happened? I'll tell you what. So I'm going to get on the soapbox now because I'm very angry about the way software has been moving forward. All right. So back in the 90s, some very smart people came up with an idea called extreme programming. And the concept of extreme programming is a client tells you something, you hack something as quickly as possible, come back in a week, show them, they tell you what you got right, they tell you what you got wrong, and you start all over again. And what happens then is you actually go from an idea to a prototype to a product in a very short time. The problem with that idea is that when that came out, software developers became actually useful and they were making a lot of good progress really quickly. And then product manager said, but wait a minute, that takes us out of this whole thing. We need to do something about it. So they took that and they called it agile. And now what used to take 2 weeks now takes 6 months. Because now we have to talk about it. We have to involve the cousins, the aunts, the
Don't you hate
neighbors.
when you talk
Point.
about it? Yeah.
You
I
know,
was like, let's just do it.
just do it. And I know we get it wrong, and we do. I mean, Lab Donkey Steps had 2 iterations before we finalized it. Like, we released the first version. It didn't look good. It was terrible. And then we went back, learned from all the mistakes of that one. And then a few weeks later, we put out a much better one. And that's the one that we run today. But we were able to put such a huge product in such a short time because we're like, let's go try it. Let's see what the customer thinks of it. And then we adapt quickly. And so to me, what we could learn from software is 2 things. The first thing is, let's stop with these 6-month cycles, a year cycle. I mean, nobody wants to wait a year to get a feature, right? It just doesn't make sense. So they want something as quickly as you can. So do hack it. And yes, what some will tell you is that, oh, but then it becomes part of the product. True. But you know what? That's how companies survive. That's how software companies survive. They do as much as they can in the time they have. So yeah, for me, that I think is the first thing about software that we could do better is go back to a system where we could test ideas quickly. And that's what we do here at LabDoc. We test something really quickly and then see how it goes.
So are you saying that like life sciences need to adopt to this like extreme programming? Because I love this idea and I think we should do it like right now.
I think it's software it works.
Extreme programming.
I'm not sure it works in science. I'm not sure you want to try science. It's like, oh, let's just try these 2 things together and see what happens. I don't know. But at least in software, the damage is minimal.
But I do feel that labs consistently, and you guys can weigh in on this, underestimate the software side of automation, right? Because we're talking about like understanding the assay, adapting the assay, scaling the assay, and then we're looking at the liquid handler and making sure it's pipetting correctly. The software side seems to come last when really you should be looking at how do I action this, right? How do I program this? So I do feel that it's underestimated in some sense. Where do you kind of land on that?
It is truly underestimated. And now with AI, people are actually making bigger and more costly mistakes. So we do hear people like, oh, why do we need to do this?
On this, because AI is very trendy right now.
Yes, but
and I do love AI, and we use it all the time. And if I could, I would have AI speak on my behalf right now. It would be a lot easier.
I invited you,
AI
Saf.
Petia. Welcome to the episode.
Automation in the wild took a turn.
So I think AI is brilliant. It's very helpful, and we use it every day, right? How can a company of a core team of 4 people do so much? It's because of AI, because we're able to do a lot with AI. So, the marketing, the sales, everything is helped with AI. But you still need that human who actually knows this, how to properly use it. In software, we use it, but
can I interrupt for a second? You have to have a human that also understands that what AI is outputting is right.
Exactly.
And it works. And that's how we go faster. But if the human on the other side just says, okay, it can go really bad really quickly.
Yeah, that's what happens. So we use AI, but the amount of times where I turn to Petia and say, oh, well, Claude is being very stupid today because it's about to destroy our application. It happens, right? But so you need to look at every line of code and see, oh, is it doing the right stuff? So you still need that architect. You still need that person who knows the do's and don'ts. I think for me, the best way to describe AI is a very junior programmer with tremendous memory. It knows everything. It just doesn't know how to put it all together very well. And so that's where a very good software developers and AI, you could build really good apps.
Definitely. No, that's a good insight. And I think that's one thing that we have seen come up again in our AI Thought Leaders series is that, number one, definitely it's not quite there. The maturation level is not there yet. And you can never abstract the human fully out because there is some testing that needs to be vetted, right?
Yeah.
I think we see a lot of big companies trying to do the whole cycle, AI in, AI out, However, I think AI is not yet ready with all the data to go that way, and they're trying to go from the top down instead of building it up.
Okay, you're getting into our business, the detail of what sets us apart now.
Well, oops.
But that's, I mean, that
But
really
that's-
is
it-
part
it's-
of the
it's my-
whole.
it's the general feel that we
Yeah.
have.
I think it's a good point. Yeah,
It's good.
an important point.
AI is good. I think what we'll find out in the next year or two, where a lot of the projects where people have put all their money in AI are unfortunately not going to work out the way they thought. There will be a lot of good lessons learned and some things will survive, but a lot of projects will likely fail because the core issue what Petia was alluding to is the data that AI is using is often incomplete. So it depends on what you're working on. But definitely in automation, we haven't collected all the right data to build an AI that does things correctly.
Ooh,
How
that touches
random
on
is
our
this
next
gonna be?
segment very nicely, the hard technical reality.
I do want to say one thing though. We are very lucky in software. We get to write version 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 of our app. And you expect that from us. What I see failing in the labs is a client goes to a company and says, hey, I'd like to automate my lab. And they say to them, sure, we'll be back in 8 months. But more importantly, today, I want you to tell me exactly everything you want. Don't change your mind. Make sure you know your protocols. Make sure you finalize your instruments. Make sure you know everything on day 0. And that is a problem, right? Because you can't change your mind later on. If you realize that actually that instrument is not going to work, or if the science has changed, or the approach you want to take is different, you're tied down. And that's something we're trying to change with LabDonkey. Say it's like you don't have to, let's bring deployments down from 8 months, a year and a half into a few months. And let's do it in a way that you can test your automation without having to commit to something long-term and change it. I think that would be nice. We can use some of that we do in software, which is let's learn from our mistakes early on. Let's adjust and adapt quickly. And we don't see that in lab automation, which is why there's a lot of dead work cells out there, right? And also because the scientists don't necessarily know right away what they have an idea. They want to automate it. If they had already automated it, they would know exactly what it is. So they're trying new ideas. They're like, oh, we think we could do what we're doing right now in a 24 well plate, or we could do this in a 384. But they don't know, right? They haven't tested all of it, but they need to get started. So they lock themselves down into a system, and then by the time it's delivered, it's not what they want. And the big dirty secret that I learned when I joined the industry is I asked some of the founders of other companies in the space. I said, so why don't we just do something where, we get paid every year instead of charging a big amount? Why don't we just charge them a small amount every year? And then this way they're paying us for the next 10 years instead of just paying up front. And one of them turned to me. It's like, because in 2 years, that work cell is likely not going to be running again. And that hurt. He says, that's what happens. Most work cells, they run out of money by the time it's running, or the scientists have moved on, or the idea no longer works. And that's a shame, really.
And that's a problem that I see quite often, right? And that's really a short-sightedness from the team that's locally immersed in that project or workflow to think ahead. And by doing that, you have to have a really good partner in industry to really think about, okay, I'm building you this work cell now for this workflow, but we have to make it adaptable and flexible and, modular so it can grow and shift as your science changes. And I think that second part of the conversation isn't being had, right? Because they're at the mercy of the best salesman, and the salesman is going to meet their need now. And I think that's where having a good partner in the industry, and I see this a lot at eTech when I'm presenting to clients, I'm building you a work cell that's going to grow with you, not one that's going to be a cardboard box holder in like 3 months, right?
Exactly.
So switching gears a little bit, I did want to throw this one out there just briefly. Why is this concept of running a lab harder than in other industries, right? This whole, workflow, process control, all that. What makes that more difficult compared to other industries? Whether it's even, not even a physical environment, whether you're just doing process control within the software space.
Well, I had a 2-hour chat about that the other day, so I'll try to press it in 30 seconds.
That's the next episode.
So the thing with labs is there's no agreements, right? You could have an NGS system in one lab and then have another client that wants the exact same output but has a whole different idea of how it should run, right? There's no agreement on necessarily this is the way to do it. Everybody has their own approach to it. Unlike other industries like car manufacturing, everybody agrees there are standards. There are ways to do things in labs, because there's a lot of money in labs, but it's a lot of small labs within big organizations, right? So those small labs have a team of 5, 10 people, and they're not necessarily in agreement with what other labs across other companies are doing. So they don't come together and say, oh, this is how we should all do NGS. Yes, there is, I'm oversimplifying. Yes, there is, of course, a standard to NGS, but the instruments, the choice, how much you shake, how much you do this step or that step, just everybody wants their own thing. There's a lot of, let's be honest, there's a lot of egos in labs, right? And it's quite...
No, scientists, egos? No.
Surely not.
They're very smart people, but they don't like to hear that somebody else is doing it a different way. And, especially coming from engineers or software developers who say, oh, by the way, other people are doing it that way. And like, no, we know better. And that's okay. That's okay, because our job is to work with them in a way that they feel comfortable. But that's what makes it very difficult to have consistency and standards in this industry, because it's not like the car industry. It's not something where people say, oh, we're going to open 100 factories over the next 10 years, and this is what the way to do it, and this is what Toyota did, and this is what Honda did, and they learn from each other. We don't learn from each other. Every project is practically unique, right? You can't copy paste and say, oh yeah, the same project I've done at this client, I'm going to do the exact same thing at another client. No, because they'll say, oh, these instruments, we have these processes.
I very rarely see the same thing deployed twice across, maybe in the same facility within the same company or something like that, but not across. But when you look at like the workflow differences, what's the difference between dynamic workflows and rigid workflows, and where do current solutions fall short? And how do you build a system that can handle the exceptions and failures in real time of a dynamic system in this case?
I guess you're talking about the scheduling aspect of it, static scheduling.
Well, it could be scheduling. It also could be even beyond the scheduling, right? I mean, execution, that problem, it seems to me in my head, that problem can exist at many layers in the whole system. I mean, we think about the one where it's actually touching the hardware the most, but ultimately I feel like that applies in a lot of areas.
And a lot of the, the things that became very interesting in lab automation when software and scheduling and was happening in real time was this thought that, hey, I'm building this dynamic workflow now. It's not rigid, it'll adapt, right? But there are shortcomings there as well as the rigid approach prior.
Yeah, true. The rigid approach, you had a problem where if something went wrong or, any deviation, then the whole system collapsed. The dynamic one says, oh, I want to adapt. But even when you adapt, you still have to stay within some rules, right?
Some parameters, because I find it adapts wrong 9 times out of 10.
Exactly. And this, by the way, you'll see that from people who have schedulers that are built based on AI or mathematical engines. Because what will happen is they'll start a schedule, everything looks good, then you pause the system and then you resume, and all of a sudden it's doing things completely out of order.
Yeah.
And that's because it doesn't know better. So when you build a system,
it does what you tell it to do, but you have to tell it all the iterations of what's possible to do, right? Because real labs are messy, and the software has to survive that.
Exactly. But it has to be consistent. Because what happens in labs is we do things that are not necessarily the most optimal, right? Like you sit down with the scientists and say,
no way.
they have, like, the lab is a bit like, there's a bit of voodoo to it, isn't it? Like, because some scientists were like, I'm going to do this, then this, then this, because if I do it the other way, then it's going to break. And there's no...
It doesn't work. Yeah.
And there's no reason to it.
Point, right? Prior, you have to actually watch them, because they're like giving you this SOP and they don't mention, hey, I did this to the tube before I pipetted. I'm like, we don't have that in an SOP.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No SOP on file. We have to do it ourselves right now, real time. Yeah, that's a good point.
I think
it's to take a look
at
the founder journey, and how you brought this online.
And what's ahead.
So Petia,
we can talk to you guys all day. Sorry, Mike.
Well, Saf and I have. We're catching up. We talk lab automation all day long. So, Petia, you came from the project management and operations side of things. What does that lens give you that a pure software background would?
it gets me a little bit of understanding of what scientists are actually struggling with in the labs and how messy it could get to actually get the lab technicians to repeat experiments. We actually had a statistic that 80% of experiments other scientists are not able to repeat, and 50% of experiments are not being repeated by the people that created the experiment. So it's incredible that there's so much discrepancy in labs, and for somebody that likes to be organized most of the time.
Yeah. No, it's every time I hear that statistic,
it's not because they're not organized.
Yeah.
Scientists are very organized.
Incredibly organized
people.
sometimes.
It's the humanity. It's hard to reproduce things, right?
The papers, the knowledge that they carry that they don't necessarily pass on to other lab technicians. Complexity of the experiments. We just want to give them the tool to reproduce their steps and be able to continue to actually develop experiments that are reproducible, because they do incredible work in labs, and we just want to be part of that. And that's my my input in that. Organize them better.
What does really well is when we sit down to design LabDonkey and the workflow builder and all that. She comes from a human side. She's like, that like we need to do it in a way that makes sense to them. You guys have used software, right? You're like, oh, that software is definitely built by somebody who was just a programmer who's never done this thing.
I'm very good at detecting these softwares.
That's when I usually call them
customer.
and I say, can you please give me access to the actual programming language?
Yeah.
And I think that's Petia's skill. She has a super talent for taking something that's complex and then dumbing it down. Maybe not the best term. It's oversimplifying it.
Making it accessible.
Making it accessible. Oh, that sounds. Oh, I'll start again.
Start again. Use her name too.
Petia does tremendously well. Is that she is? Oh, now I forgot what it is.
On the spot.
Making it accessible.
Petia is very good at making things accessible. She's really good at that. When you look at the way that she's built LabDonkey workflow builder, it makes sense. You look at it, it's like, oh, that's what the workflow is doing. Yeah, makes sense. I think that's why LabDonkey has done really well. And
I think that's what I noticed, right, was it seemed like a very accessible program. Understood what you were doing, having never looked at it before. I was like, oh yeah, that's what this is trying to run. And I think that is very important, because not every scientist wants to be a lab automation engineer or a software. They just want to run their stuff. So having something like LabDonkey where it just makes sense is very important. Yeah,
and that's what Petia does. And then while you see her, she's very often like in the background just listening. And then that's her skill. She sits there, she listens, and she's like, yeah, that's what we're going to do.
But I think that's the future, right? The future lab isn't just automated, it's observable, right? And I think by being the observer, Petia is taking all that information and actually making a product that works.
I think she's even better at this than me being in the lab, because she's always an outsider in the lab. She finds it fascinating.
I love the science, and I find what you guys do is amazing.
Building LabDonkey as a founding duo, that's something that, it seems like you both have strength that you bring to it as a team, right?
Absolutely. Petia she's calm, collected, she's an observer. She will sit there and just look at things from a business perspective and from an app perspective. I live in the moment. I'm trying to solve today's problem, right? And I'm thinking about, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that your biggest strength is listening and figuring out what the problem actually is, because very often we sit and we talk with scientists and they're telling us what the problem they think it is. In the conversation, Saf is very good at figuring out that this is not actually the problem, but it's another aspect of that conversation, and that they're not trying to solve one thing, and there is other ways of looking at what they're describing. So he's very good at figuring out the problem and figuring out a solution to it.
Mike, I think I need a Petia. I'm very much in the moment kind of person.
In the moment.
She's good. Oh, and you know what? In a few years, it's gonna be our Alex having a chat with you guys because she's like she's a combo of the two of us, and she's so good. She's so good that I think she can just run the company in a few years, and Petia and I will retire.
No, there you go.
Petia and I will go on our Volkswagen
Nice.
and then travel the world, and Alex is gonna be.
But not anytime soon. Lab Donkey is still very available for your companies.
But I mean, we with Alex and Max being part of the core team, like it's perfect. Like we have all the different skills. Max has his skills. I have my skills. Alex has skills. Petia has her skills. And it just works. But Petia brings the things that, she's business perspective, and she stops us from doing all the fun stuff when we want to do fun stuff.
Can't have too much fun.
Yeah, the
She
fun
keeps
killer.
them focused.
I mean,
I keep
No, but
them
it's-
focused, but we
Yeah.
do love a bit of fun.
oh my God, she's the silliest person we have, by the way. Unbelievably silly. Petia.
Not
She's like,
worried to wear on the donkey ears at all.
No, that's never happened.
we do have fun, and we come up with there's a lot of things that we can't publicly say about Lab Donkey. It's so bad though for somebody who's trying to go get his budget approved and goes to his SVP and says, "Oh yeah, we want to install this thing from Lab Donkey," and
Is
he
this the
was like,
folks you were talking about, this company here? Yeah. But with the body of work speaks for itself, though, and referrals, right? At the end of the day,
"It is."
Yes.
it's really fantastic to kind of get a little inside your company and how you operate it and the
Yeah, you
dynamics.
can feel the fun.
You can feel the fun and I, look, a lean and mean operation with, not a lot of people. It's amazing when the chemistry is right, the things you can get done with not a lot of
It is-
people. So, one question, what has surprised you the most about the life science industry as people who came from outside of it?
Yeah, you came on the scene all brand new with different viewpoint. I'm really interested in that question.
For me, I think it was how, I don't want to say behind automation is in the labs because it's too complicated to not be where it is. But looking at car industry and automation of factories and all that, just videos I've seen, not that I've been part of it, but it seemed to me that it should be a little bit further along than it is. Yeah, that was a surprise for me.
I think we have a whole episode on that, huh, Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's and the reasons why are all over the map for sure,
Yeah.
certainly including the fact that one automation system might have 10 instances of Windows for whatever reason.
Right.
Like how do you
Yep.
have 10 pieces of
No, I
software that
get
are
it
going to
now.
work?
Now
And
I
then
get
we
it.
Yeah,
don't
right.
want to share, so we're just over here.
Yeah, there you go, Microsoft.
Keeps the IT people busy.
I think for me, it's how low is the bar for this is good. You go into the lab, it's like, oh yeah, they've been working on it. It's been a year and a half, but now it does the minimal. And they're happy with that. It's like, it's finally, we spent $2 million and it's finally doing less than what we paid for. And they're like, yes, success. And that is shocking to me still, how, it's such a low bar of what's good is supposed to be.
The standard for minimum viable, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, and you hear it, and we hear stories in the industry, and we're like, this client was very unhappy. It took them 2 years to get the system running. Now they're going out for another project, and their preference is the company they just had trouble with for a year and a half and 2 years. You're like, but wait a minute. But they're like, but it finally worked, and that's okay. Right? So they're not looking for what's best. They're like just happy with it just working. And that's a shame. We should set higher standards. We should ask for, why do I have to wait 8 months or a year and a half to get my project set up? Why can't I change my mind and switch instruments without having to put in another 100,000? It's that sort of thing. Why can't I deploy my own solution eventually? Why can't I just get a license of this and build it? Why can't you teach me how to use it and just do my own automation? That's what we're working towards, is eventually we want, it's true that we always talk about the software, but we're a full integration company, but we work with partners to do all the other stuff because, why should we go learn all about the electrical stuff and safety and CE marking when there are people way smarter than us who know?
I can help you with that. Don't worry.
No problem.
Perfect. That's what we do. Yeah, we partner with people who know best, and we focus on what we do best.
Awesome.
No,
Awesome.
that's a really good point. And I think that that's something to think about because there are dynamics, right, within the lab and companies beyond just, hey, I'm having trouble in getting anything that's the minimum viable, that's acceptable and working. It's also like their procurement department and actually getting them the ability to do better and be better is really hard. That's a
Yeah.
lot of dynamics there.
Agree.
Yeah. I think a great point to wrap up the conversation on the discussion on as we roll into our famous pick of the week segment.
Break out the donkey ears.
Break out the donkey. It's up to you. I mean, we're not leading the witness at all. No. Whatever we're doing, but it's always our guest first. So for you, you have a tool, framework, idea, a book, resource, not another podcast. Okay. That's shaped how you think about building complex systems or something fun.
Oh, Petit, you want to go first?
For me, the idea I think of nothing is forever is kind of the way we like to build our lab donkey and how we are developing it to be flexible to change and not to be so stiff about how systems are developed. So nothing is forever. Lab donkey is also probably not forever, but we would like it to be adaptable. If tomorrow we need to integrate with AI, we will, because we're ready. So it's not set in stone, and we are ready for changes.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what we do. Is we don't fall in love with what we build in the way that we build it this way, so it must be right. We adapt to it. So if we build something really cool, and then somebody comes and says it doesn't do exactly what it should, we're like, okay, we won't cry about it. We'll just go fix it. And we're not married to this thing, and we have 3 kids. Those are important. The 3 of them are very important to us. A feature and the way we built it does not matter. And if tomorrow we have to take something apart and rebuild it, that's fine, because if it makes us better, faster, if it makes a better product, we'll do that. So I think I can walk to Petia's computer and I say, "Oh, that screen looks horrible."
And he does.
And I do. And
very often.
And then she goes, "Oh, but what's wrong with it?" I'm like, "Oh, it just feels wrong. There's something wrong about it." And I've done that before with in our other companies. And the designer will be, "Well, yeah, but you got to tell me what's wrong about it." I'm like, "I don't know what's wrong. It feels wrong. You go and find it." And then the smart ones, the sharp ones, are the ones who take that feedback and go and like, "Okay, why does it bother him? What's off?"
Yeah.
That's what Petia does really well. And same thing, I get it from the other side. I get it from a client who says, "Saf, the way you designed this thing isn't how a scientist would do it." I'm like, "Okay, let's go fix it," right? And it's okay. It's all right for us not to get our feelings hurt if somebody tells us whatever we built isn't good.
Especially when they're saying it to get it in a better direction, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
It's got good intention. That. Good intention.
Feedback is great. Like, tell me what you want, right? That's what we're here for.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Surah?
So, I'm going totally off kilter. I've been doing a lot of reading on Tao Te Ching, the study of Taoist philosophy in the way of the balanced lifestyle. So I just wanted to say that book is really great. Also, the Shuangsu, the Complete Writings, is really good. And then wrapping it up with The Secret of the Golden Flower, which is like a Chinese book of life. So we are all like, we bring CEO energy everywhere we do and innovation into labs and spaces and client discussions. It's always good to take a moment to rebalance, right? And I think that kind of meditation really helps balance me, at least.
So when you read that, did you read about the empty boat concept? I love this idea, the empty boat, and I think it's good for all of us to think about it. So if you're in a boat in a lake and you're rowing, and then all of a sudden you get hit by another boat, right? Our feeling always is like, "Oh, what is going on?" You turn around to scream at the person and all this. So we get very angry because somebody else just hit us with their boat. And you turn around and that boat is empty. And all of a sudden, you're calm. There's nothing you could do about it, right? So it's the same incident. You got hit by a boat. But the fact that there was somebody there versus somebody not there changes completely your perspective. So right now, there's this thing that we say around Lab Donkey is every time somebody gets angry at something that they can't control, like empty boat, right? Just let it go. It's an empty boat.
I do love that. You know what's funny,
I like
Saf,
that.
is I'm the kind of person that if a boat hits me, I'm like, hey, what's up? Come join me. I'm more that person than like, why'd you hit my boat?
That's great, actually.
My pick of the week is an app that's called Parcel. It's it's more for your business operations than maybe the science or philosophy or the Zen. The Parcel app is a cool one because you can automatically just tap on the tracking number, it goes straight into the app. It becomes part of one bulk list of tracked items. It's just Parcel on the App Store. And it does have a subscription cost, but turns out that FedEx, UPS, and all the different shipping companies, they're no longer giving away the tracking information for free. If you're keen on knowing when not only your next robot is coming into a shipment in real time, and you want to get it on your watch, your phone, tablet, or computer, there's the Parcel app, and I'll be calling them for kickbacks on what I just said.
Please sponsor Helical Brew.
Please sponsor Helical Brew. Yeah, it's been really a pleasure to have you. And we want to, just real briefly, I mean, what's next on the horizon? What's the big event that's happening next?
So you must have heard about our announcement about joining the BioVenture Hub in AstraZeneca. We're getting our office and our wet lab, and we're very, very excited about it.
Awesome.
That was very, very exciting news to see. So glad you guys got a wet lab space.
We're very excited about it. I mean, it's so cool to be able to bring somebody in and it's like, bring your assay in and try it out right here in our lab with these instruments from our partners. It's just amazing.
What a perfect next step to the evolution of your business. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, and I think the next thing is we're probably gonna grow because we've had to reject some projects due to timelines and stuff. I think we're gonna get our core team growing over this year. I think this year is gonna be the donkey year for us. This is the year of the donkey.
Year of the donkey.
The year of the donkey.
Okay.
Well, we look forward to your success and partnering with your company in the future. Very excited to see how that pans out.
Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on, and follow Petia and Saf on LinkedIn. You can look them up on LinkedIn or follow Lab Donkey on LinkedIn as well. In fact, follow everyone. They're available on LinkedIn. Check out the website and all the cool artwork. If you haven't heard of Lab Donkey, check that out. It's very cool work that they've done there with the team. And for more episodes of Helical Brew, you know where to find us. Or if you don't, helicalbrew.com. We're also on Spotify and YouTube. Just look up Helical Brew and we'll pop right up in your feed, and you can follow us as
Like and
well
subscribe.
as like and subscribe, smash both buttons. All right. 1, 2. And you can also head over to TikTok to look at our shorts. And of course, we've got shorts on YouTube as well, which we post on our feed and LinkedIn. So pretty much all venues are covered. Helicalbrew.com is a great place to start. So for now, we're going to take a break because this episode of Helical Brew is brewed. Thank you for joining us on the Helical Brew. We're glad to have you with us. For more episodes, please visit our website at helicalbrew.com. That's helicalbrew.com.